start with what I pulled here. Just here's proof. I pulled the boy, Urza himself, Urza Lord High Artificer. This card is huge.
And trust Vest to be the one to get that from his deck.
Yep.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Arekkz here, and today we got some pretty awesome content for you guys, some special Magic the Gathering stuff. You guys might know that last week, Vest introduced some Magic to the channel, and he's joining me today. How you doing, buddy?
How you doing, man?
All good, all good. So Vest is our resident Magic expert. Now, I've played a little bit of Magic in my time, and I've been recently getting back into it because Vest is like heavily streaming it, and he's getting me super excited. So I've been kind of trying to like slowly sort of get myself back into it. But it's kind of exciting because there is, if you play the the physical format, then there's a new set on the horizons. See what I've done there? Hey,
wow!
There is the Modern Horizon set, right? And the guys over at Wizard of the Coast, Magic the Gathering, very kindly sent us a bunch of boosters to open. So today we're gonna kind of like open some of these, and Vest is gonna share his expert knowledge, tell us about some of these cards, and kind of just sort of see what's going on. So Vest, just before we even like dive in, what is briefly speaking, what is Modern Horizons?
So, Modern Horizons is a brand new booster set for the modern format of Magic the Gathering. It introduces 254 cards into the modern format, and it's never going to be legal in the standard format. It contains 209 brand new cards, as well as introduces reprints that were previously non-legal in modern. So, honestly, it's fairly exciting because it's bringing a lot of kind of like new things to the modern format, as well as some things that you would never have expected to actually see. So yeah, it's certainly a big one.
Fair. And they've been revealing some cards over the past kind of week and whatnot. So there's some pretty exciting ones. So hopefully we get some of those pulls in our packs. If we don't, then we'll speak about a few noteworthy ones, and we'll save you all at the end. I know you got a pretty lucky draw yesterday.
Indeed.
We're going to start by, we've got quite a few packs. We're not going to open every single one because otherwise we'd be here for a very long time. But hey, if you want to see more of this, then you can always let me know. We're going to start, we've got these super shiny packs, and I'll try and show you guys these in the best possible way. Alright, so as we're opening the first pack, talk to me about what we can expect in these packs. You said there's 17 cards we'll be getting, right?
Yep, that's correct. So those familiar with War of the Spark will know that there were 16 cards in those packs. The kind of standard 10 commons, 3 uncommons, 1 rare and 1 land and a token. Obviously with War of the Spark they added in the Planeswalker thing, but with Modern Horizons you have 17 cards. You have an art card, which is just like a unique kind of essentially like horizontal art. It's not a functional card, it's a collector's piece. There's 54 in total to collect. Really nice. And the other kind of special card in these packs is essentially like a double-faced token. So usually tokens will have sort of like advertising on the back. These tokens have 2 sides. So a lot more use from these tokens, which is quite nice. So
in this one, our card is, according to the back, the Face of Divinity. This looks very nice. Hopefully you guys can see this clearly on the camera. Looking very awesome. And of course, credits the artist in the back, which in this one is Martina Plikarova. So very awesome.
I think the art cards were honestly like a great addition to these packs because, Magic the Gathering's always been known for its art. There's a ton of work that goes into the art. So yeah, like it's amazing. It's an amazing idea that they've decided to kind of like print a dedicated sort of like full art card to sort of showcase some of these really cool designs,
Definitely, 100%.
I think that's a great idea, yeah.
So there's quite a lot of awesome cards in here. One that jumped out to me, like as someone that loves collecting cards, I just love shinies, alright? So talk to me about the shiny Rhino Vest. Like, what is
cool. So yeah,
it
looks like you got one of the premium cards, which has a chance to be in the pack, and those look like shiny or like foils basically. And yeah, you got a Rhino. So that card is just simple token cards. Tokens are literally things that are generated by other cards or other effects essentially. So yeah, pretty nice though.
Looks pretty cool. But you also mentioned that you said there's a couple of so the rare one of the pack we got in this situation was this card called Sunbaked Canyon. So
indeed,
what's so special about this?
So Sunbaked Canyon is cool because it is one of the cycle lands that's coming in this set. There's multiple of them. And the nice thing about them is essentially you can pay a life and a mana, and you can cycle that card. Now, what cycling is essentially you discard that card, and then you get to draw another one. So the reason this is useful is if you've drawn into that card and you need a land, great, you can play it and you can use it as a land. If you then need some card draw and you know just some quick, easy card draw, you can cycle it and essentially get cards from that. So that's like really valuable, because one of the issues with that you can find yourself in when you're playing a game is you can become something called mana flooded, which is essentially where you get too many lands and you don't have anything to play. So cycle lands allow you to kind of mitigate that, essentially. So yeah,
sounds like my regular
really
hands,
cool.
to be fair. And there was also another one you said that was worth calling out as well. We had this rather, like, I'm loving the fact that it's like the full art picture. So obviously for that one we've got the Snow-Covered Island. So
indeed, all right. So this is interesting. So snow-covered lands are counted as like basic lands, but they are different to like the regular kind of like islands and stuff. There's one of the things that people have been super hyped for with this set is the return of snow-covered lands. They're just a really fun kind of mechanic. Essentially, there are cards that take advantage of essentially snow permanence. So one that I can think of from this set, which we might pull, is Icefang Coatl, which can benefit from having multiple kind of like snow permanents on the board. I know there's the name escapes me, but there is a board clear that will clear all permanents except for snow ones. So yeah, it's just like a really cool kind of strange sort of like interaction from like a very old set that people were quite fond of. So a lot of people are super excited to see it come back. Also, snow-covered card, it looks pretty cool, right? Like,
hey, I love my snow.
So yeah.
Let's open another pack. Alright, so no shinies in the pack, but again, like I'm loving these art cards. So we got Ravenous Giant, it's got like a really, really cool picture. It's funny, the first time I looked at it, I just saw the giant, but then I see when you look a little bit closer, he's actually holding like a little warrior there as well. So depending on the way you interpret this, either the warrior's about to go and hack his face off and win, or he's about to get eaten for lunch. Yeah. So
I always love how the arts kind of tell a little story as well. Cool.
Yeah. But within the pack, we've got a rather interesting card here that you've that obviously is kind of you mentioned as a reprint from before. So we've got Fact or Fiction. So description for this one is reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put one pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. So what's so special about this one?
So, what's special about this one is it is a reprint from an older set. It's certainly one that was quite a potent card in the past as well. So the idea is essentially you get to draw like a ton of cards, and then your opponent is kind of saddled with a choice of either putting a really good card. Let's say you draw like one of your set pieces, and he's kind of like, okay, do I put that into its own pile and then give them 4 kind of like of the other cards? Like, assuming you draw like a bunch of good cards, I just like the interaction that your opponent has to kind of think, okay, how do I best split these? Do I give them 4 less so good cards, but they're getting a ton of card advantage at that point, or do I give them like do I do an equal split and they get like, good card here, good card here? They're just, I like that it makes your opponent have to kind of essentially think. And it being like a reprint, and certainly one that people will recognize, I figured it was, good to kind of call that out specifically in this pack.
Alright, so our foil of the pack is the Universal Automaton, who is also a shapeshifter. So talk to me about this mechanic.
Indeed. So one of the cool things about this set is they are obviously bringing back a bunch of beloved mechanics from past sets. One of the bigger ones, I would say, is Changeling. So the shapeshifter cards in this set have the Changeling mechanic, and the reason why it's so huge, in my opinion, is Changeling is essentially a mechanic that makes that card every creature type. So on a basic kind of creature, they will have a type. So a human will be a human. They'll usually have kind of like a race and a class almost. So for instance, I've got a Viashino Sand Printer here, and that's a Viashino, which is its race, and it's a warrior, which is its class. Essentially, Changeling takes that Viashino part, I suppose, and would make that just anything. So even though he's a shapeshifter, he can be a Vishino, he can be a human, he can be a goblin. He's essentially all of those at once. And the reason why that's significant is because one of the things you can do with your deck is you can build your deck around kind of like tribal bonuses, which is essentially where you essentially empower a certain type of creature type, like, or race essentially. So one of the more popular ones is humans. There's a humans deck where essentially they just run the only creatures they run are humans, and they have ways to kind of buff them through that modifier essentially. So these kind of like Changeling cards will kind of fit into those sort of decks anyway, even though they're not humans, because they are everything at once, essentially. So yeah, it's a really, really cool mechanic, and yeah.
Nice. Okay, so we've opened quite a few packs. It seems that Vest has stolen my luck. So just to be very clear, for those of you guys watching, right, Vest always has luck. Like, even in, whether it's card games, whether it's any other game we're playing, Vest always gets the good stuff. He always gets like the rares and stuff. Yeah. But I do want to call this one out because this one, Ayula, is of course one of the creatures you'll see on the front of the actual booster pack. So it's quite a cool design. It's obviously this bear with this interesting looking kind of like, halo around it. So talk to me about this, because this was quite an interesting one, right?
Indeed. So what's it called? I mean, just from the card itself, 2 for 2. That's a standard bear, which I feel there's potentially an in-joke going on there, because the first kind of bear card was a 2 for 2, and so just as kind of tradition has it, any 2 for 2 mana cards are known as bears, and she's very much a bear. So I find that quite funny. But I mean, no, pretty cool card, I would say, if you're playing like a bear tribal deck. What's it called? Like, as I mentioned before, like kind of tribal decks or a thing, she'd be really good. She allows you to put 2+1/+1 tokens on any bear that enters the battlefield, which is quite nice. That will pump them up. If you play a 2 for 2, that would become a 4 for 2, which would be quite nice. Or you can actually use those bears as removal instead, by having them fight a creature that you don't control. So essentially, let's say you drop, like, I don't know, an example off the top of my head, but like a powerful bear token, and let's say you want to kill something that has a tricky mechanic, like say First Strike. You drop that bear down, you have them fight the other creature with First Strike, and First Strike won't actually apply there. They will just both deal damage to each other. So it will allow you to kind of remove those. Essentially, like it's one of Green's kind of staples of using creatures to remove other creatures, basically. So yeah, but no, definitely a very solid card, and one for bear lovers, certainly. So yeah, that's good.
All right, so obviously I didn't get that lucky, but one of the things that, if you guys know me, I love my ninjas, right? So it seems that the pack gods at least seem to know that I like my ninjas. So I'm going to quickly pan through a few of these. But while we're doing this, talk to us about ninjutsu, because that appears to be like the common ability across a lot of these cards that I've got. I've got a rare one as well. I've got the Fallen Shinobi.
Yeah, I noticed. So, alright, so ninjutsu, and just as a side note, like, honestly, one of the amazing things about Modern Horizons is they've brought back, like, all these super kind of cool, like, flavorful mechanics, and ninjutsu is certainly one of them. Like, essentially, what the kind of idea behind ninjutsu is when you're attacking with your creatures on board, if any of them are unblocked, you can essentially, if you've got, say you had your Fallen Shinobi in hand, right? You can pay its ninjutsu cost, which in this case is, it's kind of 2 and then a blue-black. And essentially, you choose a unblocked attacker, so one that's is going to hit, and you take that and you put it back into your hand. You then replace it with Fallen Shinobi, and then Fallen Shinobi is then attacking. And the reason why that is good is because if you look at what else Fallen Shinobi does, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can they have to exile the top 2 cards of their deck, and then you can then, until the end of turn, play those for free. So that's like huge. That's I'm a huge Grixis fan, and one of my favorite cards is the Thief of Sanity, and it's a kind of similar thing there. They kind of like, you take your opponent's cards and you use them against them. So the reason why obviously ninjutsu is quite useful is because if you had this on the board, and you were attacking, your opponent would want to attack it. But you can essentially switch in, for your 1/1 token or something, your Rhino that you got earlier, right? If you had that on board and you were attacking with that, you could then use the ninjutsu cost and then switch out that small 1/1 for this huge 5/4 that's going to like wreak havoc on your opponent basically, and they're going to have to answer with some sort of removal or pay the price. So yeah, really, really cool mechanic, really cool card. That's a pretty lucky draw, I would say.
Hey, yeah. I mean, maybe I'm just destined to be a ninja. Maybe I'll have to put together that ninja deck.
Perhaps.
But okay,
Perhaps.
So I didn't get too much luck out of the rest of my draws. So let's just round it out by talking about a couple of them, because you got super lucky last night. So
Indeed.
Talk to us about a couple of the sort of like the key marquee cards that people are getting super excited about in Modern Horizons.
All right, cool. So I'm just off the bat, I'm going to start with what I pulled here. Just here's proof. I pulled the boy, Urza himself, Urza Lord High Artificer. Now, this card is huge. When this was revealed, people were just going absolutely insane over it. And I mean, Urza himself is, a fan favorite character in the MTG universe, but this card in particular is incredibly strong. So what it does is when he enters the battlefield, you create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact token. With this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. So certainly this is one for kind of, like artifact decks that revolve around loads of kind of low cost artifacts. So that when you play him, he's 4 mana. That construct is going to be kind of like huge. Like it will come, if late game you've got, say, like 6 artifacts on board, it will come in. This is a 1/4, that will come in as a 6/6. And as you add in more artifacts, it will get more powerful. So really, really cool in that sense. So that's the first thing he does. And if he did that alone, that would be very strong. Second thing he does, you can tap an untapped artifact you control and add one blue mana. Now this is absolutely huge, and this is like the most insane part of it, right? So essentially, there's a card that I'm sure many of our viewers will be familiar with. If they're familiar with kind of old school Magic, it was in like the first set. It's called they're called collectively, they're known as Moxes or Moxen, and essentially these were zero mana artifacts. You could play them for free, and they could be tapped for a mana type. So there were 5 mana types. There are 5 Moxes. This one specifically that I wanted to talk about is Mox Sapphire. So that would be a 0 cost artifact that you could then tap for 1 blue mana, right? And essentially, if you had 4 of those in hand, you could play them, and then you've got 4 mana. You've just put 4 mana on the board. You can only play one land.
Yeah.
Thing. If you have that in your opening hand, or like by turn 2 somehow, there were ways to kind of make that happen consistently. It's insane. So, that's a banned card in Modern and in many formats. There's not many places you can get that. And then the last thing he does, just to kind of move on here, is if you spend 5 generic mana, you can shuffle your library, then exile the top card, and then until the end of your turn, you can play that without paying its mana cost. Now, need I remind you, if you've got a bunch of low-costing artifacts on the board already, you can tap those for 5 mana. If you've got 5 of them, you can tap those and use his ability essentially for free. And then if you draw something huge, like, I don't know, like one of your endgame like bombs, you can just play it for free. It's just insane, basically. There's just so much combo potential with this card. I can't wait to see how it performs in some of the artifact decks, personally. And absolutely insane card. There's no kind of like question why people are super excited about it.
And trust Vest to be the one to get that from his deck.
Yep. I'm excited. Like, I definitely want to get more into the Modern format just to play that. So Urza's certainly one of the strong cards. Another really exciting card that people kind of called out fairly early in the spoiler process was Prismatic Vista. Now, this is a fetch land. Essentially allows you to search your library, your deck, for a land and put it into the battlefield. Now, it allows you to only find basic lands, but it allows you to put them into the battlefield untapped. So that means that essentially you can fetch a land, And then you get a mana that you can use straight away, which is really cool.
Yeah.
That allows you to kind of bypass the only play one mana rule. Another really cool thing about that card as well is it grabs the waste card, which is the basic colorless mana card. So for Eldrazi decks, which only use kind of like colorless mana, that's going to be huge, essentially, just for ramping purposes. And finally, just to round it all out, I figured we'd talk about Force of Despair. Now, Force of Despair is a really cool card. You destroy all creatures that enter the battlefield on this turn. Now, that in and of itself is a super powerful effect, of course. It's an instant spell, instant speed card, meaning, you know, you can wait for your opponent to play, let's say they pop off by playing a bunch of their, like, you know, crazy set pieces. You can just say nope and just remove it. Like, they all just die before they can attack, right? Or, you know, in their end step, you can do that. It's a bit of a letdown on their part. But the main kind of thing that's really cool about this is you can cast this card for free if you exile a black card from your hand, as long as it's not your turn. So essentially, on your opponent's turn, you could be completely out of mana, and, you know, one of the kind of mind games people try to play in Magic the Gathering is they'll leave mana open, and, you know, you will need to leave mana open if you've got removal so that you can actually use it. So people are cautious when you have mana open. However, because this can be played for free on your opponent's turn, as long as you have another black card you can exile, essentially you can use up all your mana, and then your opponent will be like, well, I'm safe to just play my things. And then, you know, you can just be like, hold on, I'm exiling this. Boom. And you just drop a bomb on them. So that's like a huge mechanic. There's a ton of cards who also share that kind of mechanic of on your opponent's turn, you can exile a card to play for free. And that's like a really, really cool mechanic, basically. So yeah, this is one of the more sort of powerful cards.
Awesome. Fair. Sounds like there's a lot of stuff to look forward to. And clearly, by all the packs that I've opened and not got half of that, then I've got a lot more packs to open. But
Indeed.
For the time being, that's it. Thank you, Vest, for of course providing the expert knowledge. Of course, for those of you guys that really do enjoy Magic, don't forget you can tune into Vest streams. He streams Magic most days of the week, so you can definitely check him. You can find all those links down below. And of course, if you want to see some more, some more actual card stuff, then let us know in the comments down below. Let us know if you guys have picked these up, or if you're going to be picking these up, and what you've got. And of course, thank you to the guys over at Wizards of the Coast for very kindly sending us all these to open. So for the time being, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.
See ya.